You know, I've despised you since the first day I met you. Olivia Carter's voice sliced through the music, sharp enough to still every whisper in the ballroom. It was 9:30 at night, and the chandeliers glittered like frozen stars. 50 pairs of eyes turned toward me as I sat at the head table, my hands resting calmly on the white tablecloth. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. Olivia stood across the room, her champagne flute trembling slightly in her hand. Her white dress, too tight, too bright, seemed to strain against her anger. "Daniel," she said, turning to my son, who sat beside her, chewing on a shrimp. "Tell your mother that after the wedding, she's moving out of the house. I can't stand watching her shuffle around in those ratty slippers every morning. It's pathetic." The room fell into an uneasy silence. I felt eyes darting toward me, some pitying, others eager for the drama. Martha Lewis, my neighbor for 30 years, looked stricken. Frank from the butcher's shop clenched his jaw but said nothing. My son didn't look up. "Go on, Daniel," Olivia pressed, voice dripping with contempt. "Tell her it's over. Tell her it's time to stop haunting that house like a ghost." Daniel finally looked up from his plate, face flushed. "Olivia, please. Not here." "Why not here?" she snapped, laughing bitterly. "Everyone already knows. Your mother is a burden. A 67-year-old woman who spends her days making casseroles and watching soap operas. It's embarrassing." My cheeks burned, but I said nothing. I just smiled, small, controlled, deliberate. Because they didn't know what I knew. They had no idea what I'd been preparing for months. "After the wedding," Olivia continued, "we'll need the house for ourselves. For our future family. Your mom can go live somewhere with people her own age. There are plenty of nursing homes in the city." Daniel nodded. My son nodded. The sound of the clock ticking behind me was louder than the whispers spreading through the room. Everyone waited for me to break. To cry. To storm out. But I didn't. I lifted my chin and looked Olivia straight in the eye. "You're right," I said, my voice calm as glass. "It's time for things to change." A wave of relief crossed Daniel's face. Olivia's smile turned smug. They thought they had one. But then I raised my right hand and gave a small signal toward Paul Jenkins, the event MC, who stood beside the sound system. He saw me and nodded. We had rehearsed this moment. "Ladies and gentlemen," Paul announced into the microphone, "the mother of the groom has prepared a very special surprise for the happy couple, a gift they'll never forget." Olivia's brow furrowed. Daniel blinked. The lights dimmed, and every guest turned toward the giant screen behind the stage. My heart beat steady. This was it. The moment I had built, piece by piece, in silence. The screen flickered to life. And then the video began, the one that would reveal everything. 5 years ago, when Richard died, Daniel had promised to take care of me. "Don't you worry, Mom," he had said, holding my hand. "You'll never be alone." Back then, I believed him. But when he lost his job, when the debts piled up, when Olivia Carter entered his life, everything changed. She arrived like a storm, perfect makeup, expensive shoes, eyes that judged everything they saw. From the first moment, she spoke to me as if I were a servant in my own home. "Daniel told me you make the best casseroles," she said sweetly that first night, looking at the chipped walls and faded curtains. "How cozy." After that, Daniel wasn't the same. Olivia's opinions became gospel. "Mom, Jessica says," turned into "Mom, Olivia thinks," and finally into "Mom, Olivia decided." Then, one Thursday afternoon, I found the folder. I'd been cleaning his room when I saw it, papers, loan documents, and at the top, my forged signature. My house, the home Richard and I had built with 40 years of labor, was being used as collateral for a $25,000 loan. My son had sold our security for Olivia's honeymoon and a new car. There were other papers too, lists of nursing homes, my name scrawled beside the cheapest options, and a letter from Olivia herself. After the wedding, your mom can't live with us. Oakview residence looks nice enough. We can sell her old furniture to cover the first months. Don't feel guilty, it's for the best. That night, I cried until my throat was raw. Then I stopped. Because crying was useless. Planning was not. The next morning, I visited Harold Grant, my husband's old lawyer and friend. I brought him copies of the loan, the letter, everything. Harold's eyes were heavy when he finished reading. Eleanor, what they've done is criminal, he said softly. I don't want revenge, I lied. I just want to protect myself. But of course, I wanted revenge too. Harold helped me draft new papers, change my will, and set traps. He showed me how to record conversations legally. He told me what to document and how. I bought hidden recorders and a small camera disguised as a vase. For months, I played the perfect fool. I cooked. I smiled. I pretended to look for nursing homes while recording every cruel word they said behind my back. Every plan to sell my home, every insult, every lie. And now, here, in this glittering ballroom, they were about to hear themselves. On the screen, Olivia's voice filled the room, "Don't worry, Daniel. Once she's gone, we'll sell the furniture and remodel everything. She won't even know what hit her." Gasps spread through the guests. Martha covered her mouth. Frank muttered something under his breath. Daniel's face went pale. Then came Daniel's voice, slurred with arrogance, "It's her own fault, Olivia. She's old and gullible. She'll do whatever we say." Olivia froze. The color drained from her face. When the video ended, silence flooded the room. No one looked at her. No one looked at Daniel. Everyone looked at me. I stood slowly, smoothing the skirt of my green dress. "You said I was a ghost in my own home," I said softly. "Tonight, I wanted to remind you that ghosts can still haunt." I turned toward Daniel, whose eyes glistened with shame and disbelief. "You could have had everything, my son. Instead, you chose to destroy it. And now, you'll live with what you've done." The next morning, Harold filed the documents. The fraudulent loan was exposed. The police took statements. By the following week, the bank had pressed charges. And when the judge read their names in court, I sat in the front row, calm, unflinching, free. They had planned to take my home. Instead, I took back my life. The man living in my house was no longer my son. He was a stranger wearing Daniel's face, someone who smiled at me in the morning and plotted to steal everything my late husband and I had built. The warmth in our home had vanished long ago, replaced by whispers, fake kindness, and Olivia Carter's perfume lingering in every room like poison. When Harold Grant, my husband Richard's old lawyer, confirmed that Daniel had forged my signature for a bank loan, it felt as though the ground had split beneath me. He and Olivia had mortgaged my home, the vineyard Richard and I spent 40 years tending, to fund their honeymoon and their new life. Harold wanted to press charges immediately. "We can get him 5 years for fraud," he said. But I shook my head. I didn't want legal justice. I wanted something deeper. I wanted poetic justice. The idea came one cold November night. Daniel and Olivia were sitting in the living room, watching one of those lavish wedding shows where everything sparkles and everyone cries on cue. Olivia sighed dreamily. "My dream," she said, curling her fingers around Daniel's arm, "is to have a wedding no one ever forgets. The kind people talk about for years." And in that instant, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The next morning, I called Harold. "I need your help," I told him. "I want you to hire someone who can take all the recordings and make a video, something professional." Every conversation where they talk about putting me in a nursing home, selling my furniture, taking my money, I want it all in one place. And I want it played in front of everyone at their engagement dinner. Harold was quiet for a moment. Then I heard him chuckle. Eleanor, he said, you're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We planned everything with military precision. Harold contacted a young video editor he'd worked with in several divorce cases, someone skilled at turning ugly truths into undeniable evidence. When I told the man what I wanted, he whistled softly. Ma'am, he said, what you're asking for is going to be a bombshell. The final video was 15 minutes long. It began like any loving mother's tribute, old photographs of Daniel as a child, soft piano music, home videos of him running through the vineyard with his father. But after a minute, the tone shifted. The laughter faded. The music grew darker. Then came the recordings. Daniel's voice, cold and practical, Mom's losing it. We'll convince her to go to a home before she figures out what's happening. Olivia's laugh followed, perfect. Once she's gone, we sell the house, flip it, and move to the city. She'll never even know. Each clip had dates, timestamps, and clear audio. Then came documents, images of the forged loan, emails, text messages, the nursing home brochures they'd left lying around. The video ended with bold white letters against a black background. Now you know who Daniel Brooks and Olivia Carter really are. In the weeks that followed, I played my part to perfection. Once a week, I would leave the house with my purse and come back with brochures for retirement homes. Have you decided which one you like best? Daniel would ask. I'm between two options, I'd say, pretending to think. One has better activities, but the other is closer to downtown. He'd smile, pat my shoulder, and say, take your time, Mom. We just want you to be comfortable. Comfortable. That word tasted like ash. By December, Olivia announced their engagement dinner would be held at the country club ballroom. It's going to be magical, she said, her eyes shining. White roses, gold lights, a live quartet. A night people will remember forever. Oh, I'm sure they will, I replied. A week before the event, I called the master of ceremonies, Paul Jenkins, a kind older man who'd known my family for decades. Paul, I said sweetly, I have a surprise video I'd like to show at the dinner. It's a tribute for Daniel and Olivia. Could you play it when I give you the signal? Of course, Mrs. Brooks, he said warmly. Just give me the cue. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. The night of the dinner arrived crisp and clear. I wore a dark green dress and the pearl earrings Richard had given me on our 20th anniversary. I wanted to look elegant, strong, composed, the image of a mother proud of her son. The ballroom was exquisite, white flowers, gold candles, champagne glasses glinting beneath the chandeliers. 50 guests filled the room, chatting cheerfully, unaware they were walking into a storm. I smiled and greeted them all, keeping my composure as Olivia flitted about like a movie star and Daniel followed her, obedient and glowing with pride. Eleanor. Martha Lewis, my neighbor, waved as she approached. You look stunning tonight. Thank you, Martha, I said. Olivia's done a beautiful job with the decor. Have they set a wedding date yet? In February, I replied. By then, I'll be in my new home. Her brows knitted. You're moving? Yes. A place more suitable for my age. I smiled gently, not elaborating. Dinner began at 8:30. Chicken marsala, wild rice, and a salad so perfectly arranged it looked sculpted. The laughter was easy, the conversation pleasant. Then Olivia rose to make her speech. I just want to say how grateful I am, she said, glowing beneath the lights. To our friends, our family, and especially to Daniel's wonderful mother for being so supportive and understanding. Applause followed. She smiled down at me. It wasn't gratitude, it was mockery dressed in silk. Daniel stood next. My mom always taught me that family is the most important thing, he said. And now, our family is growing. He didn't notice that I had quietly slipped my hand into my purse to check the small remote control. Not yet. Let them talk. Let them dig deeper. Then Olivia spoke again, unplanned. There's something else I want to share tonight, she said. Daniel looked up, startled. Our family is changing. My future mother-in-law has decided to move to a place that better fits her needs. Somewhere she'll have company and proper care. The room fell silent. It's such a brave decision, Olivia continued, smiling thinly. Not every woman her age has the wisdom to realize when it's time to step aside for the next generation. A murmur rippled through the guests. Martha looked horrified. Frank from the butcher shop looked ready to stand. Olivia pressed on, her tone dripping with triumph. I admire Eleanor so much, she said. It's not easy admitting when you've outlived your usefulness. That was it. The moment. I rose from my chair, smiling calmly. You're absolutely right, Olivia, I said. Tonight will be unforgettable. Paul Jenkins caught my nod. Ladies and gentlemen, he said into the microphone, Mrs. Brooks has prepared a special video tribute for the happy couple. The lights dimmed. The screen behind the stage flickered to life. Soft piano music. Childhood photos. Laughter. Everyone smiled. Olivia leaned back, relieved. Oh, how sweet, someone whispered. Then the music changed. The photos vanished, replaced by images of loan documents, forged signatures, nursing home brochures. Words appeared on screen, the real plans of Daniel Brooks and Olivia Carter. What is this? Daniel muttered. Then his own voice filled the hall, Mom's not thinking straight anymore. We'll get her into a home before she figures out what's happening. Gasps filled the air. Olivia's face went pale. The next recording, her voice, cruel and cold. Once she's gone, we sell everything. She won't need the furniture anyway. Turn it off. Daniel shouted. Let it finish, I said softly. You wanted an unforgettable night, remember? The audience sat frozen. Every clip dug deeper. Their laughter. Their greed. Their betrayal. When the last image faded, the final words appeared, so everyone knows who they truly are. Silence. Jessica, no, Olivia, snapped first. This is the revenge of a bitter old woman who can't accept that her son doesn't need her. That was her fatal mistake, admitting it was all true. I walked to the microphone. My voice didn't shake. You're right, I said. I am old. But I'm not helpless. And I am definitely not a victim. Harold, I called. Would you please join me? Harold Grant stood from the back, holding a black leather folder. He walked to the front with deliberate calm. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I represent Mrs. Brooks. After investigating her documents, we confirmed that Daniel Brooks forged her signature to obtain a $25,000 loan, using her home as collateral. A wave of whispers spread across the room. Daniel's face drained of color. The funds were used for personal expenses, Harold continued. Including a new vehicle and a down payment for a honeymoon trip. That's a lie. Daniel shouted. Do you have proof she consented? Harold asked smoothly. Any signed authorization? Daniel's silence was answer enough. We also uncovered evidence of attempted elder abuse, Harold said. Recordings, more than 20 hours, documenting plans to commit Mrs. Brooks to a nursing facility and seize her assets. The room erupted. I turned to Daniel, my voice steady. You wanted my house. My money. My peace. But tonight, you lose them all. Harold opened the folder again. Mrs. Brooks has also updated her will. Daniel Brooks is no longer her heir. Daniel's head snapped up. You can't do that. I'm your son. You were my son, I said quietly. Now you're just a stranger who lives in my home. Olivia's mascara streaked down her face. Then who gets everything? Children who deserve it, I said. Every cent will go to St. Jude's Children's Home, to kids who still know what love means. Harold placed another paper on the table. And here, he said, is an eviction notice. Daniel Brooks has 24 hours to vacate the property. The silence that followed was electric. Daniel looked up at me with tears in his eyes. Mom, please. We can fix this. No, I said. You don't fix betrayal. You live with it. For a long moment, no one moved. Then applause began at the back, slow, deliberate. Martha Lewis. Others joined her. I stood tall beneath the lights, feeling years of pain lift from my shoulders. For months, they'd plotted to bury me. But tonight, I'd risen. Daniel Brooks and Olivia Carter had wanted a wedding people would never forget. And I had given them exactly that. Mom, I raised my hand before he could finish. Don't call me that, I said coldly. You lost that right the moment you sold my home. Mothers are for children who respect them. You're just a thief who happened to be born from my womb. Daniel's face went pale. Olivia, still seated, burst into tears. Her mascara streaked across her cheeks, a picture of false remorse. I turned toward her slowly. And you, Olivia Carter, I said, my voice calm but sharp as glass. You, who told me I disgusted you the first time we met. You, who planned to throw me into a nursing home like an old piece of furniture. Well, let me tell you something, dear. You don't disgust me because of your face, or your makeup, or your pretty dress. You disgust me because of your rotten soul, because every word out of your mouth drips with greed and malice. Olivia sobbed harder. Daniel tried to speak, but his throat seemed to close. Harold Grant stepped forward, calm and precise as ever. He opened his folder and looked at me. Mrs. Brooks, he said evenly, shall we proceed with criminal charges? The room froze. Every guest held their breath. Daniel's jaw trembled. Olivia gripped his arms so tightly her nails left marks. They knew what Harold's words meant: jail, public disgrace, and a lifetime of debt. I took a long breath, looking around at the faces of my neighbors and friends, people who had once pitied me. I thought of 40 years beside my husband Richard, of the vineyard we'd built from nothing, of all the nights I'd stayed awake worrying about Daniel's future. And then I thought about how he'd thanked me, by stealing everything that mattered. No, I said finally. Daniel exhaled in relief, his shoulders slumping. But I wasn't finished. If you ever come near me again, I continued, if you call me, write to me, or even drive past my street, Harold will file every charge we have: fraud, forgery, elder abuse, and I'll make sure you pay for every signature you faked. Harold nodded once, confirming it. I turned to the microphone, facing the stunned guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I said clearly, I'm sorry you had to witness this. But sometimes, the truth has to be shown, no matter how painful it is. For a moment, the hall was silent. Then someone started clapping, Martha Lewis. She stood, tears in her eyes. Well done, Eleanor, she shouted. They deserved every bit of it. Applause rippled across the room, hesitant at first, then strong. I felt the strength of it wash over me, not as pity, but as respect. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a helpless widow, but as a woman who had finally stood her ground. Daniel and Olivia gathered their belongings in silence. They didn't look at me as they left, heads low, faces white with humiliation. Olivia's parents followed soon after, mortified. One by one, the guests drifted away, murmuring to each other, exchanging glances of disbelief and admiration. When the ballroom was nearly empty, I sat down. My knees trembled. Harold placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly. I looked up at him, exhaling slowly. "Free," I said. "For the first time in years, Harold, I feel completely free." The real freedom came 3 days later. Daniel returned to collect his things, 2 friends, a rented truck, no words. He didn't look at me once. Olivia didn't come. Perhaps she was too ashamed, or perhaps too cowardly. I walked through the empty house after they left. The silence was different now, no longer heavy with fear, but light, almost golden. Peaceful. Daniel's old room no longer smelled of stale beer or unwashed clothes. The kitchen was spotless, free of his dirty dishes. The living room was mine again, no more arguments, no more disrespect. That night, I slept better than I had in a decade. I didn't have to listen for whispers behind closed doors or pretend I didn't hear their cruel laughter. I didn't have to play the fool anymore. Over the next week, Harold helped me cancel the fraudulent loan. The bank, after reviewing all the evidence, withdrew the charges against me and wiped the debt clean. They also flagged Daniel's account: no new credit, no loans, no second chances. It wasn't a prison sentence, but it was justice enough. I changed every lock in the house. I wanted to know with certainty that he could never step foot inside again. At first, the emptiness felt strange. 5 years of living with others had made me forget what true solitude felt like. But soon, that solitude became joy. I could cook whatever I wanted, watch my favorite shows, wear my robe all day if I pleased. The house was mine again, not just in paper, but in peace. Word of the engagement dinner spread through town faster than wildfire. Some people offered sympathy, others offered admiration. When I passed through the market, I could feel the change in how they looked at me. Not as a frail old woman, but as someone strong enough to fight back. Martha began visiting every afternoon. "Eleanor," she'd say, shaking her head, "I never knew you had that fire in you." "I didn't either," I told her. "You only find your strength when you run out of options." 2 weeks later, I received a phone call I wasn't expecting. It was Olivia's mother. "Mrs. Brooks," she said softly, her voice trembling, "I wanted to apologize for my daughter's behavior. We had no idea what she and Daniel were planning." "I know," I replied. "You're not responsible for their choices." "She's devastated," the woman continued. "She says you ruined her life." I thought for a moment. "I didn't ruin her life," I said quietly. "I just showed the truth. They ruined their own lives when they traded love for greed." The line was silent for a moment. Then she said, almost pleading, "Is there any way you could forgive them?" "Forgiveness," I said, "is for those who are truly sorry. Your daughter isn't sorry for what she did, only for getting caught. That's not the same thing." She didn't call again. A few weeks later, Harold stopped by with news. "Daniel and Olivia have broken up," he said. "Her parents canceled the wedding. He's moved to another city." "Does that make you sad?" he asked gently. I shook my head. "I'm sad for the son I thought I had," I said. "But that man never really existed. The one who lived here was a stranger." That realization gave me peace more than pain. A month later, I did something I hadn't done in 40 years, I bought a train ticket. Chicago. I'd never traveled alone before, never dared to. But now I could. I didn't need anyone's permission. The trip was beautiful, fields rolling past the window, the steady hum of the tracks, strangers with stories of their own. I stayed in a small hotel, walked through city parks, ate dinner at cafes where no one knew my name. For the first time, I wasn't Richard's widow or Daniel's mother. I was just Eleanor Brooks, a woman with her own life. When I returned home, I repainted the walls, filled the garden with new flowers, replaced old furniture with bright, cheerful pieces. Every change felt like reclaiming another piece of myself. I joined a group of women who played bingo on Wednesdays. I started attending church again, not out of duty but because I enjoyed the fellowship. I even bought new clothes, comfortable, colorful, alive. 6 months after that night, a letter arrived from a law firm in another town. It was from Daniel. His handwriting was shaky, the words full of remorse. He begged for forgiveness, said he'd learned his lesson, asked for another chance. I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly and placed it in my drawer. I didn't write back. Not out of bitterness, but because I finally understood something. Forgiveness doesn't mean reopening old wounds. It doesn't mean giving the person who broke you another hammer. Forgiveness means letting go, not going back. That evening, I stood in my newly painted living room, looking at my reflection in the mirror. A 67-year-old woman with silver hair, soft wrinkles, and eyes that finally looked alive. "I'm still here," I whispered. "And my story isn't over." For the first time in decades, those words didn't sound lonely. They sounded like hope. Because I had learned the truth too many women forget. It's never too late to take back your dignity. It's never too late to start again. And it's never, ever too late to choose yourself.